Hey, welcome. Anyway, this is part 4 of the history of the zodiac, and where we left off was the paragraph before, and I'll start there. This is a book I made. It's just full of things I wrote. You can't see a damn thing. But anyway, I can. I'll show you more pictures later. It's really cool. The most prominent place in the heavens in the olden days was considered the constellation Draco, which lies coiled about that point called absolute north. Seen originally as attempting to uncoil around the constellation of Ursa Minor, which was originally called the Little Flock, or Little Sheepfold. A wonder in the heavens to behold, a woman with a child. Another wonder, a dragon, red, with 7 heads, 10 horns, ready to envelop her child. Revelations 12, 1-6. She fled into the wilderness, and a place was prepared for her. 12:30. The mysterious bride of Christ is the chained Andromeda, the chained woman of the heavens. The intended bride is bound and exposed on earth, subject to a fallen nature and a fallen world. Andromeda, like Prometheus, chained to the rock of materialism, she is intuition overshadowed by sensation. She was rescued by Perseus, the son of Zeus, an immortal virgin. Riding the white horse Pegasus, Perseus fought and killed the dragon, freeing Andromeda from her chains. Here we have before us a mighty man called Peretz in Hebrew, from which we have the Greek Perseus, or Persis, Romans 16:13. It is the same word which is used of Christ in Micah 2:13, when he shall surely gather the remnant of Israel. It is written, the breaker is going to go up before them, and the Lord at the head of them. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought, and his angels, and prevaileth not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Revelation. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding his hand a key to the bottomless pit and a great chain, and he seized the dragon, Draco, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years, and threw him into a pit, and shut him up, and sealed it over him, that he should not deceive the nations, till the 1,000 years were ended. After that he must be loosed for a little while. Revelation 20:1-3. At the last trump the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. 1 Corinthians 51:52. Andromeda chained to a rock because Cassiopeia, her mother, the queen, had bragged that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs, the Nereids. The nymphs called on Poseidon, the god of the seas, for revenge. Poseidon sent a monster, the kraken, represented by the whale Cetus, to terrorize the coast. King Cephas consulted to the oracle of Ammon for advice, and he was told to sacrifice his daughter, Andromeda, to the sea monster. Fortunately, Perseus, who had already beheaded another monster, Medusa, arrived in time to kill the monster and rescue Andromeda. His reward was to marry Andromeda. By rescuing Andromeda, Perseus, or Jesus, is able to reverse to anima. Cassiopeia is associated with the Perseus constellation family. It is in the zodiacal sign of the ram Aries, where one finds the stars Shadir, the breast, Rukba, the enthroned, and Dat al-Kursa, the seated. Cassiopeia is an enthroned woman, at whose right hand is a star-crowned king, Cepheus, holding his scepter towards her. His wife, the bride, the lamb's wife, Cassiopeia, is the priestess of the tarot, Isis, Juno, or Hera. Arcana 2. Motionless and calm. Priestess of mystery, goddess of deep night, and without her the human spirit could not penetrate the darkness. Symbolism of the throne of the enthroned queen, Cassiopeia. Revelation The throne that was set in heaven surrounded by four symbolic beasts, being a manifestation of God's glory at the world's end. It symbolizes the final balance of the cosmos, achieved by complete integration of an all-neutral opposite. Between the Cassiopeia and Cygnus constellation, Cepheus the king, while Lacerta the lizard lies just above Cepheus, visible in the night sky. In October and November, along with Cepheus, Cassiopeia, Andromeda, and Lacerta is the Phoenix. The Swan lies between the constellations Pegasus and Draco, Greek Draconis, and is often shown with outstretched wings flying parallel with the Milky Way. Cygnus the Swan, or the bird of return. Cygnus is easily observed in the summer sky because it is very high up in the sky, and it is also very easily recognized by the shape. A giant cross made of stars. Two celestial figures may have served as a model for the cross: Tau, or the Staros, Greek. Cygnus was a northern cross, an equally prominent T-shaped star group in the constellation Scorpio. Cygnus is the perfect counterpoint to the anguish of the southern cross, for here is a picture of a swan circling and then returning to earth. The brightest star, Deneb, means the Lord comes, also called Arided. He shall come down. Cygnus was the son of Mars. Mars is Aries. Cygnus is Christ, the son of the fallen man. Aries is the ram because the Lamb of God, or of intuition. Cygnus, the northern cross, with Deneb as its head, and Alberio was the foot of the cross, called also the cross of the cavalry. Cygnus is the last decan, or the part of the story. The swan, the lordly king, the bird of the waters. The swan is the emblem of dignity, purity, grace, and poetry. It seems to be flying down the almighty Milky Way in the same direction as the river that pours from the heavenly urn of Aquarius. It is thus the bird of matchless beauty and the purity, bearing aloft the cross and circling with it over the blessed waters of life. The English Christians knew Cygnus as the Northern Cross from the time of the Venerable Bede, because the cross stands erect over Europe at 9 p.m. on the night before Christmas. The constellation was known as the divine portent of the crucifixion. The Northern Cross not only signifies the death and resurrection of Christ, it has an even more ancient association with the myth of recrossing the Bork, or the Born, separating the living and the dead. Under its pagan designation, Cygnus, the constellation, was dedicated to Orpheus because of its close proximity to Lyra, the harp of Cythera. The lyre was used by the Orpheus people to enchant the creatures of the underworld in his quest for Eurydice. A third, nearby and related constellation is Draco, the great northern serpent. Orpheus' beloved Eurydice died from a poisonous snake bite, as did old Hamlet. The serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his old crown. Together the three constellations present an eternal tableau vivant of the archetypical man between the living and the dead. The pole star today, as of 2007 when I wrote this book, is of course Polaris in Ursa Minor. Will next enter into the constellation Cepheus, which pictures Cepheus as God, the triumphant over all of the earth. Cepheus the king, Latin Cepheus Greek, Cepheus, appears on the meridian on October 15th. It is shaped like a pentagram, called the Crowned King, a picture of Christ the Redeemer enthroned, no longer the slain lamb. His right foot is placed firmly on the pole star, the central point in all the galaxies and all the heavens. Cepheus means the royal branch or king in Egypt. The constellation is known as Per-Kuhor, meaning the one cometh to rule. Also, Cepheus is home to the famous garnet stone Mu Sifu, the reddest naked star in the sky. Orion with Betelgeuse is the right shoulder. Bellatrix is the left shoulder. Rigel on his left foot, and in his belt the star is known as the Yarden El. or the three kings. Orion persecuted the Pleiades, and to save them from his fury, Jupiter placed them in the heavens, where Orion still pursues them in vain. The Pleiades, so named from the Greek word signifying to sail, Pleiades called the virgins the sisters of spring. Orion is said to have died of a scorpion's bite as Taurus set, the scorpion rose in the east. Bootes, or the husbandman of Osiris, called by ancient Greeks Lysoon, from Lukos, a wolf by the Hebrews called Anubak. The barking dog is the great star Arcturus. Gemini, the two twins, Castor and Pollux, patrons of navigation. Cancer, the sign of this constellation, was a beetle or a scarabus, which then became sacred as an emblem of the gate through which souls descended from heaven. In the crest of Cancer is a cluster of stars formerly called Praecipe, the manger, on each side of which is a small star, the two which are called Asel, the little asses. Leo. In Leo are splendid stars, Regulus, directly on the ecliptic, and Denobula. In the lion's tail, southwest of Regulus, is the final star, Cor Hydrae. The combat of Hercules with the Nemean lion was the first labor. It was the first sign into which the sun passed, after falling below the summer solstice. The Nile overflowed its banks in this sign. In the left hand of Virgo, the Virgin, Isis or Ceres, is the beautiful star Spica Virginis. Vendemiatrix, or magnitude, is in her right arm. 9 months after the sun enters Virgo, he reaches the twins, Gemini. When Scorpio rises, Orion sets, and when Scorpio comes to the meridian, Leo begins to set. Typhon reigns, Osiris is slain, and Isis the Virgin, her sister and wife, follows him to the tombs, weeping. And this ends part 4.